Hi Corey, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Awesome. So we did our evaluation together and assessed the injury that you have going on in your hip. I'm going to explain to you what I suspect it is. We're going to talk a little bit about why that injury might be there right now, and then we'll break it down into a plan to get better. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Cool. So your hip's hurting. I think you have a psoas impingement. The psoas is a muscle that starts on your spine. It's starting on these transverse processes of your lumbar spine, and it is going to travel down, cross your hip joint, and insert at the back of your femur on a process called the lesser trochanter. Okay, so it's crossing the hip, it's attached there. It's going to be responsible for pulling your leg up into flexion and rotating your hip out to the side laterally. Because you are a hockey player and you're always in this position, that's going to be uncomfortable for you. Okay, and I'm assuming that's why you came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that pain going on there. Okay. Through our testing, I noticed a couple things. So the first thing that I noticed that led me to believe that we have this impingement, number one, when you're standing straight, you're in slight hip flexion. Okay, so there's like that slight flexion of your hip, which is a little suspicious. We also had a positive Thomas test. So when I had you lying down on the table on your back and you brought in the knee of the uninjured leg, I saw that leg where you have pain in the hip, I saw it lift up. Okay, that's indicating we've got a tight hip flexor. The same way you being bent into flexion indicates a tight hip flexor. Lastly, when we were doing a bunch of ranges of motion, you told me the pain got worse when you went into flexion and internal rotation. That's leading me to believe we've got that psoas muscle stuck between the head of the femur and your hip. Okay, so the femur articulates with your hip in this hole called the acetabulum. And as you're moving into flexion, so you're lifting, let's say this is your leg and it lifts up, okay, we've got that muscle that crosses getting stuck inside the joint. So I'll show you a picture, kind of what that might look like. So here, that's the muscle coming across the hip. There's the head of the femur, that's your pelvic bone, and we're getting impinged right in there, okay? Why this has happened, I suspect that it is related to you having previous pectineus strains. So you told me you have a history of pectineus strains where you're straining the adductors of your hip, okay? And pectineus, we know, attaching kind of similarly to our flexor. So it's on the pubic bone and it's going onto the femur. It's going to help stabilize the leg. It's also going to help with some flexion and internal rotation. When pectineus is not doing its job, okay, because it's strained, right? You've strained it multiple times. I know it's weak. I also know that psoas has been working really hard. It's been working overtime to get you into that hip flexion every time you're on the ice and skating. Because of that, I believe it got inflamed, okay? All that inflammation around that hip joint, as well as the ineffective pectineus, maybe started letting a little gapping in the hip, and then the inflamed tendon of psoas got crushed right in there. So our plan moving forward, first we gotta get the psoas out of that joint. So we're gonna start with some flexibility, some range of motion, flexibility. We're going to stretch that tight psoas. Okay, we can work on that today with some PNF stretching, which I'll help you with, and I'll send you home with some stretches as well. Following that, we're gonna need to strengthen the pectineus because we want it to start participating in hip flexion, helping psoas, so we don't have that inflammation repeating itself. And we're also going to work on some glute strength, okay? Because you're here, you're in that flex position all the time. We're gonna stretch and lengthen that hip flexor, but I also wanna pull the pelvis back into a nice position with some hip extension. Okay, so we're gonna do that from the glute. It's gonna pull you into extension. That should solve all the problems, okay? Because when we did your ranges of motion, I believe your flexion is being limited right now from the tight psoas muscle. Thank you, Manuel, that's very nice. It's being limited by the tight muscle. Then the internal rotation is not working properly because we have an impingement, so it is physically being blocked. Your external rotation is likely not working because psoas is now impinged. It cannot do its job and rotate. So it's just not functioning properly in that line. And your hip extension is limited by the tightness once again. Okay, so if we work through all those things, you should be good to go and get back on the ice with no pain.
Fantastic.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.